have something to do with the price, yes? But they also have something to do with the nutrition, with how healthy the food is. And if you hang out in this building, and spend any time here, and you bring food into this building, there will always be two people who will be looking at you. One is Henry, because he'll want to bite. And the other is Anne, because she'll want to know what is in the food. Is it nutritious? Here's the secret. If it's kale, Anne will smile. If it's fast food, there will be a look. Now we all like to tease Anne. Okay, I like to tease Anne about this aspect of her ministry. But there's no doubt that what we put into our bodies has a lot to do with what comes out in our bodies. This we cannot argue, right? If you put food into your body that is the equivalent of cardboard, then what comes out is not going to be great. On the other hand, if you put something in your body that is healthy and good for you, you obviously will be healthier, in a better attitude, and be better able to deal with various ailments that come your way. That is a fact. The Bible has a lot to say about food too. And in the Old Testament, we are told that on various levels, food has a profound effect. So, in the book of Ezekiel, we are told that food is a great healing instrument. Food can heal. Well, we know that's true. Right? We are also told in the book of Exodus that when there is manna in the wilderness, it is nutritious, it is good for us, and it is good for our bodies, and God has provided. And we are told in the book of Genesis that food is a means by which we give thanks to God who gives us life. In the New Testament, the emphasis on food often has to do with community and the presence of Jesus. The idea that in community, because in the New Testament, it was a really big deal who sat around the table and where they sat around the table. Hierarchy, in our culture, it's, obviously where you live and how big your house is, right? In that culture, it is who sat with who and where did you sit. It was a very big deal. That's how social prestige was determined at meals. And so Jesus would come and sit and eat with the people who would be considered persons of no particular prestige. And Jesus would teach that in the meal, he would offer hospitality. He would wash feet. He would embrace people who were untouchable. So all of the hospitality piece around the meal, Jesus was breaking taboos as he invited people to eat and live with him. Further, after Jesus' death and resurrection, he would appear almost always in, like the gospel that Dorothy read, in a time of meals. He would come at the road to Emmaus in the breaking of the bread. He would come in the morning after a night of fishing as they had fish and bread at breakfast. And in this passage, there is a lot of symbolism. John loves symbolism. And a lot of it has to do with fish, food. And so I'll just share some of that with you. The boat that the disciples go out in is a symbol for the church. And the disciples in fishing is a symbol of a missionary spirit of the church. That is to bring people into the church. And the fact that they don't catch any fish is a symbol of how unworkable and ineffective they had been. Then Jesus appears at dawn, which is a clear symbol, of course, of the Easter experience. And with his presence The fish are caught in large numbers. In fact, the number is 153, which is supposed to be the number of fish species in the ocean. I don't know if that is still, we have a lot of scientists in the church, they can tell us whether the Bible got it right or not, but that is the reason for the 153, meaning all people, you get there. And the nets were full. Thus, that the missionary spirit of the church is enhanced when the presence of the risen Jesus is there, and in the breaking of the bread and in eating of the fish, people rejoice that the missionary spirit of the church continues. And that is the story that we receive. I know that all churches desperately want more people. Yes? Yes. It's always interesting when ministers read the profile that a church creates to look for a minister. I've had a chance to read a few of those over my career. They are strangely always alike. You know, we're looking for someone who will come and work with us to get more people. Right? That's what people want. And ministers are always a little worried that they have this vision that someone's going to walk in the church and they're going to hand you the keys and they're going to say, go to it, buddy. Right? Did you arrive on a white horse? Because that's what we're looking for. Right? And the worry, at least from my point of view, is that the reason that people might want more people is so you can go tell your friends, we have more people than you do. Right? Our church has more people than your church. It becomes a kind of a matter of pride how many people are in the church. Sometimes I like to push back a little and say, so why exactly do you want more people in church? Well, it's better. Yes. Why is it better? It looks better. Yes. Why does it look better? And so on. Sometimes people want more people in the church to fill up the various committees of the church. Where's Jim Mustering? Right, Jim? Right, Jim? More people, more recruits. Yes. More fall fair coordinators. Yes. And then some people also look at the bottom line. Anybody here from the board of managers? So, you know, more people equals a balanced budget. Hooray! But that isn't the reason that the nets are full. That isn't the reason that people are sent out to sea, these disciples, to fish, to gather, and to bring new people. The reason has to do with this story and what is underneath it, which I will share. This is a fascinating story, which is rarely talked about in the way in which it is presented. So I'm going to just share a little bit with you, which I find fascinating. Most of us are familiar with the theology around the Lord's Supper, or communion, or Eucharist, which is the theory that in the eating of the bread and the drinking of the wine, we participate in the death and resurrection of Jesus. Jesus says, when you have this meal, I am present. Right? And he shares the body and the blood, if you will, to remember his presence in the meal. So our understanding of that story is that Jesus is in the meal, and we take the meal to ourselves for our strengthening. This story is the opposite. In this story, the church, that is the boat, that is the people accumulated, the church, which represents Jesus, brings the fish, which is the new folk, into them to bring new life. So instead of this idea that we as believers take Jesus to ourselves for our strengthening, in this particular case, the church is taking the fish, the new people, into us for new life. Which means that when the gathered community brings someone new into our midst, we experience new life. Thanks be to God. So 2 years ago, I always get Dana to send me the bulletin from the year before. Whenever we have like Easter Sunday, I always try to look at the bulletin from the year before to see if we have to adjust anything to make it better, right? So last year when we had confirmation, we had 16 new people come. This year we have 23. And I looked at that and I asked myself the question, where do we experience new life? And I could immediately think of all sorts of ways in which the folk who have come into our midst have breathed new life into our body. And I will share just a few with you. So in your bulletin this morning, you will see a program that on the little green sheet. Now I've been mishearing this for weeks. I finally read it and trying to mask the rolling of the eyes, but she's going to roll her eyes. I thought it said New Eccentrics Program, but it's the New Eccentrics Program. See, Eccentrics, I thought maybe I could join. No. And this is a program that came to us from one of our new folks, India, who came up with this brilliant idea, came to Anne, and then it came to me. Hooray! Right. And then we had Yvonne Kapoor come and say, I'd like to have a program of meditation in the church, right? And it is. Every Thursday, people come into the presence of the church, and we meditate, and a lot of folk are finding that peace and serenity and focus very likely. And we have Susan Zareski, who is here principally because of you, Glenn. Yes, you. Because she was looking for a church to have a yoga class. And Glenn was so warm and inviting that she said, I think I'll come to church here. Good for you, Glenn. If we had a finder's fee, you'd be welcome. And now Susan offers yoga in Sunday school. Yeah. And on Wednesday nights, she has a yoga class right here in the hall. And when I'm working late, I can hear them because there's a man playing classical guitar while they're doing yoga. Despite my lack of quietness and serenity, the building suddenly gets very peaceful. It's a beautiful thing. And I could go on and on about the folk who have come into our midst and suggested to us how they could bring new life. Now, my friends, there are many people who come into churches with the offer of new life. It is not always well received. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity where you walked into a church and said, well, I'd love to do this, and someone said, we don't do that. Or, we've never done that before. You ever heard that one before in church? We've never done that before. You gotta get out more. And my friends, how we accept new life into our church will determine the future of our church. Full stop. And the reason that we attract new fish, new disciples into our midst is not so that the pews are full and we feel better about our church. It's not, although we like having full committees, it's not about a big budget at the end of the year, although that's pretty good too. It's because in our community life, a new person with new ideas, breathing new life into the church makes a difference. Now, of course, I will say this, and this is important. When you're new, you also need to be a bit flexible. I've been in churches many times, and I've seen lots of new people come. And here's a really good way not to get well heard. I was in a church in Toronto, and it was much better than this. You should do it our way. You know how that works? Not well. So, when you come into a new place, it's always a good idea to get to know a little bit about the culture of the church you're in and not remind people how great your previous church was, because this ain't one so good, right? And it helps to get involved, right? So if you sit back and you wait for your brilliant idea to be uncovered and sit at home waiting for someone to call you, the phone might not ring that quick. So offering, as these three people they said, look, we've got this idea, and they worked with Anne, and the offering came to be. Okay. So I would say to you that we have been sent to sea, and we are in the midst of a large ocean. And sometimes, as the cover of the bulletin suggests, our boat feels a little small. But my friends, in spite of the fact that there are times when we feel a little empty, there are other times when we can be quite full. And when the fullness comes, and the new folk arrive, how we embrace, how we together live out our faith, how we breathe new life into an institution such as the church, which has a habit of being, shall I say, a little traditional, is how we move forward. It's how we find new life. And in the end, many of the things that will become new to us will very quickly become a tradition. We joke sometimes in the church that if you do something for 2 years, it's a tradition. And that is the way in which churches often work. So, please welcome those who have come into our midst from elsewhere. Please welcome them. Please listen to their ideas. Please be patient. Please welcome to these ideas and let them come and give them a try. See where it's going. And let God's Spirit breathe our next